Welcome back to another episode of Mommy and Me. I am Brii Renee, straight from the A.
And I'm Miss Renee, straight from the A.
You don't have to take my tag.
Okay.
You just Miss Renee.
Okay, I'm Miss Renee.
But she is from the A. But anyway, so welcome back to another Mommy and Me Mondays. You know, this is where we have these raw, unfiltered, organic, authentic conversations from generation to generation, mother to daughter. And I think it's so fun because we don't always agree. We have very different perspectives, but what people are saying they love the most is that we keep it 100 with each other. So we're gonna continue to do that. We love everybody that's supporting us along the way. And if you have not done so, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and also share these videos with someone, a friend, a family member, you know, help build our following. We growing and we appreciate y'all. I thought you was about to say something.
No.
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm proud of you because we are filming our first episode in the Content Crib, our new content creation space that's located here in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you're looking for somewhere to film your podcast or any piece of content, whether it's photo shoots, podcasts, social media content, we have a multi-room, multi-set space that is available for rent. Even a fire kitchen. The kitchen is one of my favorite places. But I'm proud of you because literally the day we shot episode 1, we were filming somewhere else, and she was like, what is this? How much we paying for this? Oh no, we're not gonna keep doing this. So this is technically, I believe, episode 7 or 8.
8.
This is 8.
Mm-hmm.
So in a matter of 2 months, you have created a whole new space. I'm talking about built it out, organized it, and although we are business partners in this, I want to give you credit because you have been doing a lot of the lead work and making things move smoothly.
We're partners, and I've done all the lead. I've done all the work.
Not all the work. See, you can't even give people credit.
I've done all the work.
All this that you see right here is me. This design, this furniture, every piece that we got. We're not gonna go into that. See,
yeah, we're not gonna go into that.
It doesn't matter about who gets the credit. It doesn't matter about, what's that, the money?
No, the weight.
It doesn't matter. Together, we are a good team, and it has come together. And so I'm excited to present it to the world. And I'm excited because this is actually our first business together. And I trust you as a business partner, somewhat. You know, it's a little too swipey with the cards. So I be having to tell her, don't buy nothing else.
But I've only bought the things that you say we needed. I mean, I'm just trying to make sure that if we're going to do it, we do it right. And, you know, we quit renting things.
You're right. I appreciate having a business partner like you that makes me move faster and execute quicker. Because sometimes I get indecisive and I'll be like, let me sleep on it. Let me take my time. She's like, I need an answer by tomorrow. So you are a great business partner. And I trust you with the money a little bit. Like I said,
I hope you do trust me with my money.
I trust you with the money a little bit. But speaking of the money, that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode is financial literacy. People give me a lot of credit for sustaining my lifestyle, whether I have a man or not, and as a single woman, how I stay afloat, and a little bit if you don't know, I bought my first house at 23 years old. I was able to pay. I was thankful to her. I graduated college debt free, bought my first home. From there, paid off my first car. From there, saved up $100,000 before I left waitressing. From there, chased my dreams, purchased 2 other homes, sold one, living in one now, sold the first home. And I just been matriculating and flipping, you know, but I feel like I've had the success that I've had, or I know I've had the success that I've had and been able to continuously grow financially because of a lot of things that you taught me early on. And so I feel like in our community, we don't often parents don't talk to their children about money enough. And we don't share the tips and the tricks that we have amongst each other enough. So that's what I want us to use this episode to do, basics, finance 101.
Well, first of all, let me say that they're not tricks. They may be tips. There are no tricks.
That's what I'm saying, tips.
The only thing I say that we need to do as parents is, number one, we need to teach our children the real struggle. Teach them the real things about how to manage their money, what's important. And make sure they understand at a very early age. The very first thing you want to always secure is the roof over your head. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing my mother taught me at a very young age. No matter what's going on in your life, make sure you secure the roof over your head first. That's number one. Whatever that looks like, whether it be apartment, whether it be a house, whether it be a condo, whatever that looks like for you, make sure you secure that. What's in it is not important,
I mean, get you a bed. I hate to see what.
I mean, that may be true. Get your bed. You know what? And it's funny you say that, because I remember the very first apartment that I got on my own. I actually went out and bought myself, and I think back then I probably paid $250 for a used bed. I then bought also a used mattress, but it wasn't the cloth mattress. It was one of those mattresses that had maybe the vinyl cover to it. I bought a used vinyl mattress. I cleaned it up real good, and I bought me a mattress cover. And so that was my very first bedroom set. I wasn't caught up in the fact that it wasn't new. I didn't care back then. It was mine. I paid for it. And in my first apartment, I literally had bean bags in the living room until that Christmas came around. Mother bought me a dinette set for the kitchen. And that's literally all I had in my apartment for a while. And then I was able to buy me from somebody off, and it wasn't offline back then. It was by word of mouth. They had a used little sectional sofa, and I was able to buy that.
So the moral of the story is, it don't matter what's in there or how you get it, as long as you got a roof over your head.
You got to have a roof over your head first.
The lights and the water.
The lights and the water. Secure that first, and then grow from there. And don't go out and see what we do as people. We don't teach, we allow our children and everybody to put so much emphasis in other things, put so much emphasis in, having, a brand new $1,000 bedroom set or that's
or
not
name
important.
brand
A name brand.
Name brand clothes, name brand shoes, or a nice car.
And that's not important. One of the very first cars I bought was an old beat up Volkswagen. I bought it from a guy it'd been sitting under a tree, and it had been sitting there for years, and it was all discolored and everything, and it had rotten out the inside. The seats were all rotten. I literally took some sheets and covered the seat up so that it wouldn't tear my pants, and I made sure that it was mechanically sound. And it got me from point A to point B. It didn't have a heat in it. It had AM, FM radio, but that was fine with me. I got from point A to point B. So the first lesson I think that we need to teach our children when it comes to financial literacy is to make sure that you can put your emphasis in the things that you need. Don't get caught up in the appearance of them. We don't put so much value in what it looks like. Don't put so much value in trying to fit in. I didn't care about fitting in. It was about meeting my basic needs. So number one, you got to always teach your children how to prioritize their basic needs. What is it that they need? You can get the wants later.
Yeah.
But you got to teach them how to, secure the things that they need in life first and foremost.
I agree with that. Because we, in our community, we do get caught up on the look of things and the wants and the desires. And we feel like we trying to make it just so we can get what we want and not what we need. But I think before or during that process of realizing, that's prioritizing, right? What you're talking about is prioritizing what's most important is what you need. But also, don't ruin your children credit or name before they even get a chance.
And we touched on that in one of our other episodes. You're absolutely right. We have to teach our children that we live in a society where you judge based upon your credit. Your credit is your creds, right? And so you've got to, number one, teach your children the importance of being responsible, paying their bills on time. If I say I'm going to pay you on the first, then pay it on the first. Then parents, you also have to be responsible enough to understand that if you use your children's credit and you're not responsible with it, first of all, don't do it. But if you do it and you're not responsible for it, you're going to cause your children more harm than then
It's like
then
shooting
good.
them in the foot before the race even starts.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
your credit, it will follow you for the rest of your life.
And I feel
there's
like-
no way around it. It's going to follow you. So guess what? You go out and you get a student loan bill. Don't pay the student loan bill. And that student loan bill is going to come back to haunt you. Don't pay the light bill. That light bill is going to come back to haunt you. Don't pay the car note. That car note is going to come back to haunt you because it's going to follow you for the rest of your life.
And I like to tell people too, like my friends, they didn't really understand why credit was important until I broke it down like this. So that's the beautiful way of explaining why credit is important, right? But I like to tell people, credit is like to the government what your street cred is to you. You know what I mean? So like what your reputation, your name in the streets, or when you dealing with people, you doing business on a one-on-one basis, like that's what your credit is to the government. So if the government or or who is over the credit score, it's not the IRS.
No, it's the credit bureau.
The credit bureau. So the credit bureau is like
they're the reporting arms of
they
society.
Report, yeah.
They
everybody
report.
say. So they your street cred, right? That's your resume, your name in these streets. So if they say, oh, Brii done ran off on the plug from Rent-A-Center, then why would Comcast, you know what I'm saying, or somebody else loan me some money when
They're
word
not
on the
loaning.
street is
Comcast wouldn't be necessarily
not
loaning
Comcast,
you.
but you get what I'm, let me get it out.
Okay.
Like if I'm a say you in the street, right, and you loan or you borrow money or somebody fronts you some money over in this way and you run off on the plug, you don't pay the plug back, then one, that plug gonna be looking for you. You owe them, you in debt with them. Now you got problems and trouble with them, but also that plug gonna talk and they gonna tell other people like, yeah, Shawty don't be, they be running off.
That's called the credit bureau. They know.
That's what I'm
because
saying.
everybody
So in
report.
the real world, that's the credit bureau. The credit bureau is the people who keeping up with the street cred, and then each of these businesses are different plugs. So if American Express say you don't pay me back, then MasterCard gonna be like, well, I already heard you ran off on the Colombian plug. Why would I hook you up with the plug over here? You get what I'm saying?
Correct.
So my homegirl was like, dang, I ain't never think about it like that. But I think that's so it's like your name in these streets is like you care about your name or your reputation in the streets. So why would you not care about your name and reputation when it comes to the money? Because this credit is really gonna help you be able to elevate your entire lifestyle.
Absolutely.
And I feel like me having good credit carried me even when I ain't have cash on hand.
Correct.
Like it's been plenty of times where I had zero cash, but I had credit cards to make it over until the cash started flowing in, especially as an entertainer or entrepreneur or artist. If you're an actor or creative, sometimes them jobs ain't coming in, especially when the pandemic hit. If it wasn't for credit cards, I would have not, and me having good credit, I would not have made it through the pandemic like afloat.
Correct.
So what are some, like, if you are fresh out?
First of all, I think you'll know where you're going. If you're first of all, before you get to college, number one, parents instill in your children that before they go to college, not to accept one damn credit card, period. Everybody's going to be giving them to you. Everybody's going to give them to you for free. They're going to give you to them for zero interest. They're going to promise them the world. Don't do it.
Why not?
Because first of all,
how you going to say build your credit but don't get a credit card?
No. There's a time and a way to get a credit card, but do not accept all of those offers of credit while you're in college. Because number one, you're a college student. Your purpose of going to college is to get an education, not worried about how you're going to pay that college bill, that credit card bill. Because the minute you get that credit card bill and the minute you can't pay it, which you can't, how many kids do you know in college that are financially independent? I don't know any. Mm-hmm. But the minute that kid gets that credit card in college and they go out, they ball, they go buy them 3 or 4 pair of new Jordans and, some other stuff, guess what? Next month roll around, it's time to pay even the minimum bill. They can't afford to pay it. They got to either pay for their lunch program or pay the credit card bill. What do you think they're going to choose? They're going to choose to pay their lunch program.
Yeah.
Buy something to eat versus paying a credit card bill. And the minute you do it 30 days late, you're affected.
Right.
Your credit is hurt. So first thing I would tell a parent is to make sure you sit down and tell your children, stay away from credit cards in college. Now, you were fortunate as a parent. I gave you American Express because I could monitor it. It was a card that allowed you to do certain things and you had a limit, but I controlled it. So anything other than that, you were going to be in trouble. And I preach that to you regularly. Don't touch a credit card. You better not accept a credit card. Don't do it. And you didn't do it. And it sustained you and you were able to survive. So when you got out of college and you were able to get a job and you were able to become independent, then you can get a credit card. Then you were a little bit more responsible on how to pay your bills and you understood the importance of paying bills and paying them on time.
Yeah.
So that's number 2. Parents, keep your children away from credit cards going into college.
So the best way to start building their credit early would be to, as a parent, taking out a credit card or adding them as an authorized user like you did when they're 15, 16 years old, but not necessarily, you don't have to give them the card, just adding them as an authorized user so that they can have the card.
Yep, adding them as an authorized user. Even if a parent can afford to give their child, let's be realistic, a $50 a month, a week,
$50 a month, that's
whatever.
Not gonna get you anywhere.
Hey, if you're if they're not going to get you, what do you need it for other than to go to the movies? If you're a kid, you're at home with your parents.
It costs $50 to go to the movies.
Okay, well, go to the movies. That might be your outlet for that month. But I'm just saying, a lot of people.
I would say maybe $100.
A lot of people can't afford. I'm just saying, meeting that need where you are. If you can afford 50, fine. If you can afford to do more, do more. But at the end of the day, whatever that need is, whatever that amount is, add them as an authorized user, set the limits, set the boundaries, and you monitor and guide them through it. Number 1. So by the time they are 20, 21, 24, they understand life. They understand the repercussions of not paying the bills. They understand those things in life. Then you can graduate them, to a different level. And then after that, they should be independent enough to go get their own credit once they've secured a job or they've secured some means to pay back. It's easy to spend money. It's easy to spend money, but it's difficult to pay it back.
Yeah. What about before a credit card? Do you feel like you should? I think because I had a savings account early on. I feel like, what age do you feel like children should get savings accounts in their names or banking accounts?
As soon as the parents can afford to give them one, whether that's 3 years old, 4 years old, 5. I took you guys to the bank with me when you were very, very little. I take my grandchildren to the bank with me now. It doesn't have to be a lot. When Morgan goes on vacation, I take it to the bank. Whatever is in there, I put in there. Parents, whether it's $2, whether you can
Morgan's
afford
9, just for context.
Whether you can afford to save $5 a week, $5 every 2 weeks, $10 every 2 weeks, whatever that amount is. She wants to go to the store. She wants to go buy something. She understands that, hey, we go to the bank, we get the money. We also understand that when people give her money as a gift, we go to the bank, we put a little bit in the bank and we save a little bit at home. So that when she wants things, she understands that, hey, things are not free.
Yeah.
They have to be paid for. So either she's going to pull the money out of her piggy bank, or guess what? She's going to go to the bank with mama. And we're going to get whatever she wants out of the bank. And she always makes sure that she gets a little bit for her, she gets a little bit for her brother. Vice versa.
What percentage do you feel like if somebody was to give her, say, $100 as a birthday gift or something, what percentage would you encourage people to tell your children, save this and you can spend this? I feel like because they don't have bills, I would say 50-50. I
would agree. 50-50 is good.
Yeah.
Unless they're saving for a
specific
thing. Don't do that to me. I told you, just because you don't pronounce it the way I do. You know what I mean.
Okay. But I would say 50-50 because they're children. They don't have many responsibilities. But we know
they don't have any responsibility.
They might have a few, like the things that they want. Like I remember growing up saving up money to get an outfit every Sunday at the mall. Or I used to start on Mondays, especially in high school. I wanted a new outfit on Monday. Whether it was from a little rainbow or, you know what I'm saying? But I saved up my money and from my little jobs that I had, and I would put 50% of my money into my savings account and pretend it like it didn't exist. Once it's in a savings account, it does not exist to me anymore. And then I have 50% of it to spend on the things that I like nails, hair, taking pictures at the mall, going to the movies, Six Flags, my little activities where I might get some money from you on, I might not. So, but I always had my own. I think teaching them that young. So teaching them how to set up a savings account. But we do know that as you grow and as an adult, sometimes you might have a good paying job where you can afford to save 50% of your check, but you might not.
Or I'm not saying save 50% of your check. Whoever is able to do that, great.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody is able to save 50% of their check.
That's what I'm saying. So that rule is for as a child.
Yes.
As you get older, that percentage will decrease on how much you're saving. I feel like now, as an adult, being able to save 30 to 35% of your income.
That's even. That's even. Not the norm. The average working person, may be able to save 10 to 15% of their earnings, because everything nowadays is so expensive. It's just expensive to live.
Yeah.
And I think that even if a parent is only able to give their child, $5 every 2 weeks, make them understand that number one, they've got to earn it. It's not given to them for no reason. To get them in the habit of making sure that they go to work every day. They know that, nobody's going to give them anything in life for free. And then teach them that it's not so much the amount that counts. It's just the fact that it's what you do to get to the next level. You save, you don't have to spend everything. But let me also say this too. You talked about being an adult and not being able to save as much. When you become an adult, things change sometimes. It's not always about having the liquidity, the cash on hand. Sometimes it's about having resources, the ability to go get it. Like you said earlier, you were able to survive through COVID through a number of resources that you had, credit cards, and of course me, and other resources that you were able to conjure
Girl, you
up.
barely came over my house during COVID.
I said we're not going to talk about me coming over. I'm talking about resources.
Anyways, I don't know what resources I'm talking about, but anyway, so like you said, having things like your credit in store, but also having like some of my resources that helped me too was investing in real estate, because I had not only the home that I stayed in at the time, my townhouse, but then I had my old house where I had a tenant in. Bringing in that rental income helped like manage some of my personal home bills as well, because in my early 20s, I had bought that property. So let's get to that point of investing, right? So you've been saving up all your money. You've been having great credit. You done built up your credit. You paying your bills on time. You are continuing to save, whether it's 10, 15 to 30% of your income. Now you got a little extra money to invest. What do you think is how do you know when you're at that point of financial, not freedom, but financial flexibility to be able to invest?
Well, when you can use those resources or the money that you saved for something that you won't need immediately. If you saved your money and you know that this is not money that I need in the next 3 months, 6 months, or a year to survive, pay my bills, continue to live, then that might be a good time for you to consider investing. Now, investing in what? I'm no investment guru, by no means. I will say that, use that money to maybe invest in another piece of property. Real estate, for me, real estate has always been something that I understood, something that I know, and something that I will always preach to somebody or tell anybody. If you're going to put your money in something, put it in a piece of real estate. Yeah. You will never, ever, ever go wrong. Might be a piece of real estate that, you may have to make some renovations to. It might be a piece of real estate you can afford that, won't cost you as much. Something you can take, make some money off of instantly. But I will tell people, even at that, be careful, because there's so many pitfalls. You hear all of these, these get rich quick schemes. And I'll tell you, as a young person coming up, I was eager. You know, I fell into those traps. I paid people for those use other people's money seminar. And I'm getting rich doing this and flipping houses. I'm, you know, 90% of that stuff, 99% of that stuff is bullshit. Bullshit. Because it's been tried and it has been tested and tried and true that there's only one way to do things. And that is the right way. Just like, you know, you hear people talk, oh, I can fix your credit. You know, get credit fixing for, you know, $99, $500, what? Bullshit. Bullshit. There's only one true way to fix your credit. And that is you contact, and it doesn't cost you anything to do it. You contact all those creditors that you ran off on, the plugs, as you call them. You negotiate what you can afford to pay them to get it resolved to your best interest, and you do that. Whether you can afford to pay them $5 a month for the next 7 years, whether you can afford to pay them one lump sum and you negotiate that one lump sum payment and you negotiate that they're going to give you a letter to say that you've done that and you create it but there's still going to be repercussions behind it. Understand that there are going to be repercussions behind you not paying your bills. If you don't pay your bills, you're going to suffer. Your credit's going to suffer for a period of 5 to 7 years. That's a period that you're going to have to bite the bullet and swallow. All these get rich, all of these, I can improve your credit for X amount of dollars, and they may be able to go out and dispute it. And you may get lucky, you may not get lucky, but are you willing to take that chance? Is it worth it?
Yeah, so you can save the money and not even pay them and just do it yourself.
And just do it yourself.
Or do it the right way.
Do it the right way the first time. Pay the bill. If something happens when you can't pay the bill, pick up the phone, call your creditors, and look, you know, this happened. I can't pay this, that, and the other, and work it out.
Okay.
Don't ever run away from your responsibility because it's going to come back to haunt you.
For sure. But we were talking about with investing, right? And like you said, always do your research on what you're going to invest in. But before you invest, what does that safety net or cushion of savings look like? Like on average, how much do you think somebody should have saved up for their safety net before they go out and invest their money? I say 6 months to a year worth of your bills.
I would agree with that. Whatever it's
all of your bills is. First, you got to sit down
and you got to understand what your bills
are. And a lot of times, I feel like with anything in life, you can't improve it if you're not monitoring it.
Right.
So I can't improve my health if I'm not stepping on the scale, seeing what my weight is, or checking my blood pressure, or whatever. You can't improve what you're doing if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. So you have to first sit down and write out all your bills that are required every month, and even write down what you are spending.
Yeah, your frivolous
spending, and see where you can cut and trim the fat at.
And that goes back to something we said in one of our other segments. Parents, sit down with your children when they have the capacity to understand the importance of your budgeting. Make out a budget for your children. Mm-hmm. If they're 8 or 9, 10 years old, if they understand it, they've got the capacity. If they don't get that capacity to the 12, 13, 14, make that budget out. Let them see your budget, what that looks like for you. Get them to understand what it takes for you to meet your obligations in that budget. Mm-hmm. So they'll understand. And then they can understand how to incorporate that budget in their lives as they grow older. That will help them become more financially independent. Yeah. And understanding their finances and what it takes to live in this world, what it takes to survive, how it takes to budget, buy things that they need versus things that they want. They may want a new pair of Jordans, but understanding, hey, that light bill's coming up next week. I'm going to have to pay that. The first is rolling around. I may have it. Do I want to spend it now, or do I want to wait and put a little bit towards that purchase?
Right.
And then make that purchase later.
So sitting down, writing out what your budget is, taking an assessment of what your necessary expenses are, cutting and trimming the fat where they aren't, and then starting to save. Once you start to save, whether it's that 10, 15, 20, 30% of your income
even if it's 1%,
even if just saving something, save something, pay your savings first. And then my rule of thumb is once it goes into my savings account, it really doesn't exist to me. You don't go back in your savings account for anything. You're not going in your savings account for shoes. This is the savings account. Even if you have to make separate accounts, this is your savings account for your safety net, your livelihood. Once you are building that up, I say like we said, you have a 6 to 12 month cushion of safety, then you can have a separate account for investment, and you start saving and putting some of the investment money in there. Once you start saving up for investing, then you can start doing your research on where you want to invest and being knowledgeable on how and what's the best way, like you said, so you don't get scammed, so you're not getting taken advantage of, so you're not just wasting your money and making a bunch of mistakes off the jump. Then once you start investing, I say the money that you get back from the investments, keep flipping that money into other investments.
I would agree with that, but
save a little bit, put it in your savings. But then, for the most part of that,
and then treat yourself to something.
For sure.
I mean, you've worked hard, you earn it. But I would say,
tell me to treat myself.
I would say,
I'm gonna treat me.
I would say to anybody, real estate may work for you, it may work for me. But it may not work for everybody.
Yeah, some people like crypto. Some people like
I say
art. Some people like a lot of things.
Absolutely. Save, invest in things that you understand. Mm-hmm. Things that, come second nature to you, or things that you're passionate about. Invest in those things.
Yeah, I think real estate has become a second passion for me, just based off of, one, I realized, like you said, God ain't making no more land. It's in limited resource. Being that I'm from Atlanta, I'm passionate about Black ownership in our city. So that's why real estate has always been something that I wanted. And I've always seen you build houses and build real estate. So it's made me want to be more involved in that industry. So that's how I chose real estate. So after investing, you start getting your money back from your investment. You done paid yourself back from the initial investment. Like you said, buy yourself, treat yourself to something nice. But how do you stop from going down? Like, sometimes you go on I'm buy myself something nice, and then you go down a slippery slope of balling till you fall. Like, how do you reel yourself back in from going off the deep end?
I think when you look in your account and that money that you just spent is not there, something's sure to come up, and you're going to say, I needed that money, or I wish I hadn't bought that, because everything, we have a tendency to always want something new, shiny, and glittery, right?
Yeah.
And that reminds me of one time, you remember that when you bought that Mercedes, and you wanted it so bad, and I said, Sabrina, I don't think you should buy that car. No, you stood on your head. You wanted to buy that car. After about 3 months, or when you came back, Mom, why you didn't tell me how to buy this car? I'm so tired of paying this car note. Oh, this car note is killing me. I tried to warn you.
That car note was damn near $1,000 a month.
I tried to warn you. I said, Sabrina, hey, I don't think you should buy that car. Well, I knew you gave me every excuse in the world why you needed it, why you wanted it. That's that slippery slope that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
You go out and you ball and you buy yourself something, you treat yourself, and then 3 months later you were crying.
Well, I don't regret it. I did love that car, but it was a learning lesson. I made it work. I actually paid that car off. It was paid in full before I ended up getting a new car. So I made it work, and I handled my responsibilities. But have you ever made a purchase that you regretted?
Yeah.
What?
I'm sure it was a car many, many years ago, because I had been through it and I was trying to warn you of it. Mm-hmm.
What car was it?
Oh my God, I bought so many of them. I think it was probably a Volvo that I bought very, very early on.
A Volvo?
Yes.
You regretted a Volvo?
Yes. I regretted it because of the payments. I had one car. I really didn't need another car. I bought it because I could afford it and I wanted it. And then, after about 6 months, I'm like, what in the world was I thinking?
Yeah.
So I got through it, and that was the lesson.
Why don't you think people just return stuff, not return, because you can't return a car, but why didn't you just sell the car? Is it because you were
upset because I didn't, first of all, and this is another financial nugget. We have to learn how to buy things. Mm-hmm. I bought that car in my early years, and I bought it, and people don't understand. When I bought it, the minute I drove off the lot, I was upside down in it. So if I tried to sell it, I couldn't sell it for what it was worth.
When you say you were upside down in it, what does that mean?
Means that I owed more on the car than the car was actually worth. And people don't understand that concept. Well, how do you owe more of something worth? Well, because of the financing industry. You buy a car, you go into a lot, and most people make the ultimate mistake is they go in, the first thing a salesman want to know, well, how much can you afford to put down? First of all, you never tell a salesman that. Second of all, I would tell a person before you ever go into a car lot, secure your own financing, because car lot dealers play games with you. And the average buyer don't know that there's several things the dealer would tell you. Number one, we're going to sell you this car below MSRP. Okay, you might. After you verse your MSRP, if you really show me the real MSRP, not the sticker. The sticker is more likely MSRP, but if you show me the real MSRP, the price you pay for it, you're going to make money off that car regardless. And I'm going to tell you another way that you're going to make money off that car. The average person don't know. And it took me for making mistakes to figure this out and to understand this. I don't care what dealership you go in, okay? They're going to tell you that, you're getting the best deal. We're losing money. We're not making money off this car. Bullshit. If a dealer ever tells you that, you tell him, let me see your holdback. Let me see what the holdback on that car is. He'll never show it to you.
What is the holdback?
The holdback is every vehicle that's on every lot from every manufacturer. The manufacturer at the end of the year pays that dealer a certain dollar amount for that car. So his profit on that car, he's going to make a profit on that car regardless of what he sells that car for, simply because that car is on his lot. Because he sold that car for that manufacturer just by having that dealership. So don't buy into that bullshit. The dealership is never going to lose money selling your car, even if it's a used car. He's never going to lose money selling your car because number one, he's going to buy that car from you at wholesale prices. If you go to trade your car in, a dealership is never going to give you retail price for a car. He's going to always pay you wholesale, but then he's going to turn around and sell it retail, which means that there's a difference, there's a margin there, and he's going to always make money.
Right.
And if he tells you otherwise, in the way the catchman says, let me see what you bought it for. I want to pay you what you bought for. They're going to say, no, we're not going to do that because they're in the business of making money. So what you do is you negotiate. If a dealer is honest with you, and there's very few of them out there are, but that's why you got to be savvy enough when you go in to buy a car. Number one, you never tell a salesman what you can afford. Number two, you never let them run a credit report on you before you know what your own credit looks like. Because let me tell you what they tried to do to my brother one time. And I'm sitting there, I know the game. I would swear to you, I'm 60 years old and I know I've owned at least 100, 150 cars. Mm-hmm. He's sitting there and I'm quiet. He's trying to tell my brother that he qualifies for a particular rate. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what makes him qualify for that particular rate? Well, the lender says that his rate is this, that, and the other. They call them tiers. So as we sit there, we're discussing, I said, well, you're saying his tier is this, but his credit report indicate that his tier is this. So what the dealer was trying to do is tell you that you only qualify for X, Y, and Z. When in reality, you qualify for more, or you qualify for a lesser rate. And what that is that the dealer was trying to make what they call points on the back end.
Right.
So what they do is upsell you on the credit rate. And then they get the money back off of it on the back end. So as long as you're locked into that loan for a particular rate, and you actually qualify for a better rate, the dealer makes that difference. So before you walk into a dealership to buy a car,
know your credit score.
Know what your credit score is.
Secure your own financing.
Secure your own financing
from your bank,
from your bank
or credit union.
And I give you another real life experience. Mm-hmm. Your sister, she was married to somebody who think they know more than what they know. They didn't, but she wanted to go in and she wanted a new car. She's never bought a car without my assistance. So we go into the dealership. It's an Acura dealer. And the dealer is trying to tell her, and they play games with you. The dealer is trying to tell her, well, we can get you, and she'd already had the finances in place. She'd already inquired about it. We can get you, we can meet it. What's their rate? What's their rate? And she says, I said, no, you don't need to know what their rate is. Mm-hmm. You tell us what your rate is.
Okay.
So we said, nah. It turns out their rate was higher. We says, nah, we're going to go with her rate that she'd already obtained before we got there. So she's sitting there, she's talking to her finance people, she's giving them the information, she's talking to them, and this salesperson is just sweating. He's coming back. Oh no, we can do it. All you got to do is just let us try. And I said, hold on. I told him, wait a minute. If you're giving me your best, as you say you're giving me your best, then you should have given me your best when I came to the door. Don't all of a sudden give me your best. You want to go back and let me go back and talk to my sales manager. Let me go back and do this. Let me go back and do that. And all of a sudden now you see that I'm not buying your bullshit.
Right.
Now you want to come back and offer me your best. No, don't play those games with them. You let her know, I don't want that. So we said, okay. She secured the financing. We were in the midst of, telling the bank what we were going to put down. Then he comes in to try and talk. I'm giving her the money to put down on the car. He comes in to try and tell us why not to pay so much money cash down on the car, because I know why he was doing it, because it was going to affect their sale. So they didn't get any points. They got nothing for the most part out of that deal. Is that we negotiated the price of the car before we ever talked about financing. Mm-hmm. Once we were satisfied with that, then we control the narrative in terms of financing, the percentage rate and all that. And they can't stand that. Dealers, salespeople cannot stand the fact you come into a door to buy a vehicle from them and you are educated, you are savvy. So number one, don't ever go to a dealership glutton. And then don't be afraid to walk away.
Yeah.
If you don't get the deal you want, walk the hell away. Guess what? They'll call back. Same example.
Okay, Mom.
Okay.
Just because we got to get through a lot of points and you being a little long with it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so those are great tips when purchasing a car, right? But what are some things besides like having great credit, knowing your credit before you going in, securing finance before you go in from a credit union or bank? I was gonna ask you too, what do you think is best to have? Should people have credit, bank accounts, or credit unions?
I said they're one and the same. Sometimes credit unions are better than the banks. Mm-hmm. They're more flexible. They're easy to deal with. With big banks, you're just another number.
Yeah.
You don't mean as much to a big bank as you do smaller banks and credit unions.
I also feel like I have a savings or a bank account, but I maneuver mostly off of my credit or my credit cards, because that's what's building your credit anyway. Like I think it was Warren Buffett actually say that he doesn't allow his children to even have or use debit cards because they're pointless. He said use your credit cards and use your cash to pay back your credit card, because what matters most is not cash. It's the credit in your history. So if you're using your credit card for everyday life and swiping everything on your credit card, you are always building your credit up. And then paying it back.
And I would agree with that, because I don't use a debit card.
Me neither.
I don't use it. I use either my credit cards and I use my accounts to pay my credit cards and my bills.
And then you use your bank account to pay off your credit card every month, or to pay some bills. Like I have on auto pay, like my mortgage. So Absolutely. That come out of my bank account every month automatically. So I don't even got to think about it. But also one tip that I would give too that had helped me when I was growing my credit is paying that credit off, not just paying it off every month, but also say my minimum balance due is...
Never pay the minimum balance.
Let me say what I'm about to say. Because some people can only afford to pay the minimum balance. Okay. And if you can, then pay your minimum balance. But if your minimum balance is due for that month is $500, right? If you can afford to pay more than that, then do that. But whatever you're paying, whether it's $500 or if you're going to pay $1,000 on that, if $500 is only due, split that payment up into 2 times that month before the due date. So if it's due the next month on the 1st, on the 15th, I might pay $500 or $250. And then on the 20th, right before it's due, I might pay another $500 or $250. It's going to continuously, they're reporting that and they're showing, oh, not only does this person pay us what they owe us every month. They paying it on time, but they also paying us more if they got more. And they're also making sure we got our money multiple times in the month. Like they're showing your payment history. That helps boost your credit as well.
And do you know what you're also doing by doing that, and you never even thought about it? You're also decreasing your interest rate.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm. You're also decreasing your interest rate because your interest rate is
Based
calculated.
on what you owe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
you're
so
also decreasing your interest rate.
Lessening what you owe, then you're decreasing your interest rate.
Absolutely.
So that is one major tip with credit cards. I use my credit card for everything, but then also doubling up on the payments in between. I feel like that is like key for, that's something so simple and easy that it didn't even take you nothing else extra to do. And
you also know that can be applied. That principle can be applied in every aspect of your life, even when it comes to your mortgage.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to a mortgage. If you paid your mortgage, if you broke your mortgage down to however you work, I don't know why you get paid once a week or once every 2 weeks. If you paid your mortgage in that increment, what eventually happen is on a yearly basis, you would make 1 to 2 more extra payments on your mortgage. That means that your interest rate, your mortgage, you pay your half off sooner, and therefore saving you on the interest in the long run.
Yeah. So do that. Double up on them payments, or double up on the payments and pay extra if you got it to pay, because it will help you with your interest. What are some financial mistakes that you made early on in your career? You talked about, or in your life?
Overextending myself, getting too many credit cards at one time, running them up to the limit.
I do that sometimes.
Running them up to the limit and without means of getting them down from the limit rather quickly. So I would say don't do it. You don't have to have a lot of credit to be credit worthy. You get 1, maybe 2 credit cards, 3. Sometimes you may get a department store credit card. But I typically like to live. To be honest with you, I typically live off of 2 cards. Mm-hmm. One being American Express, and I typically run my business a lot off of American Express, and the other being maybe a department store, one of my favorite department stores. And I just, that's how I function off of those. I don't have a lot of credit cards. I may have, 1 or 2 MasterCards that I never use. But for the most part, I'm a live and die by American Express.
I'm trying to think if I made any mistakes with my finances so far. I think I sometimes overextend myself or run my credit card up too much.
I would agree. Yeah. I would agree, because I've gotten that call plenty of times. Like, my American Express card is such a, and what I've said, the last time I paid your American Express, I was just, I'm not doing this again now. Yeah. And I think I paid it off 2 or 3 times, and I was like, I'm not doing it again. Yeah. So you're on your own.
Struggling out here trying to turn my dollar into my dream into $1.
Yeah, maybe, and I agree. And I paid your American Express card several times, and I'm not doing it anymore. Just like when I bought so many cars and you tore them up, and the last one I said, I'm not buying no more cars, Sabrina.
Well, other than that, but even if you hadn't paid it, I still would have figured it out.
Okay, thank you.
No, I'm saying because you stopped, and I have had to do it. But at the same time, I'm saying I would have had to do it slower. It probably wouldn't have boosted my credit as much as when you just paid it off all the way in full. But
and I'm not talking paying it off in $500 worth.
I know
it was substantial.
No, it was. What are some finance tips you have we should give women in their 20s? For me, I would say save more than you spend.
Absolutely.
I know you see, I like nice things. I wear designer and stuff now, but in my 20s, I didn't even buy anything designer or
because you couldn't afford it.
Yes, I could.
Well, okay, I take it back.
First of all, let me tell my story. I was working at waitressing at the club since I was 20, 21.
Okay.
I was making the same amount of money as dancers, other waitresses, bartenders we bringing home thousands and thousands of dollars a month in tips. So I could have afforded to go out and buy red bottoms like everybody else, jewelry, designer clothes, and all of that. But I chose not to because of things that you have instilled in me. I saved up my money, bought my first house. I saved up my money, paid off that Mazda that I had. And then after I had done all that, saved up a substantial amount in my savings account. And then I decided to, all right, well, I'm in a nice space. There was nothing that I really wanted to invest in at that point. So that's when I started to buy, name brand or designer shoes, purses, bags. But I didn't start doing any of that until I was almost 26, 27 years old.
Yeah.
And I didn't miss out on any of that because most of that stuff that you buy be outdated. It'll outdate itself anyway.
And the key to that is, and the word to remember for that is, buy things that appreciate, not depreciate.
Right.
So that would be my advice that I would give any young person in their 20s. If you want to make a purchase, you got to make a purchase. Buy something that's going to appreciate. Meaning you can turn around and get your money back at least or more than what you paid for it.
Or if something happened to you or things happen in the world like a pandemic, you can sell them or get your money back
and you don't lose
like that, or use them to make money off of while you need them. Also, another tip that I would say that you also set me down and made me do while I was waitressing was take me to set up an IRA and a 401k. A lot of people think that you have to have a 9-to-5 to even set up these type of accounts. But I was waitressing at a club when I set up my IRA and my 401k. And I started to save whatever it is you can afford to save and invest. It's an investment. It's not even a saving. It's an investment. And the earlier you start to invest, the more money it'll accumulate and trickle down to.
And you can look at retiring very, very early in life. I didn't have that opportunity. I started out, young and, things were different and I didn't know. These are things that I learned along the way. So these are the things that I tried to pass down to you. And had I known it, I would tell anybody, even save for your children's education as early as you possibly can. Because you'd be surprised. 15 years of saving, X amount of dollars could put you in a position where, hey, the kid has a college free education if that's what they choose to do. Yeah. Or if not, you can give that to them as a graduation or starting a business or whatever. But start early.
Yeah. Starting early can really help. And a little bit will go a long way.
A little bit will go a long way.
If you're just consistent with doing it. And have it come out of your check before or taken out. Now that you can set up where one bank account takes from the other bank account without you even having to do it.
Oh, you can have it set up where it just goes and you never see it, period.
So where do you go to? Where would you recommend people going? And this is not like telling you. These are like not even recommend. We went to State Farm, right? When I set up my IRA, and because you can do. Disclaimer: this is not advice. You can do whatever you want to do. We're just telling you what worked for us. We're not telling you how to spend your money, what to do. This is not seek your financial advisor.
Yeah. Go seek a financial advisor. If I had to recommend somebody, I would, depending on who you are, what you are. If you had a question for me specifically, I would refer you to someone that I know in the industry. I'm not advocating for one business or the other business. I just say that, think about what works for you. Let's figure out who's the best fit for you.
Yeah, because it's not a one size fit all for nobody pockets. Absolutely. It's a lot of different avenues, business people.
But just know that you can start early in saving. Just know that you can start early in planning for college education funds and things of that nature.
Yeah. So saving early, also getting these Roth IRAs or investment accounts where the money is put up and it'll continue to grow as you get older, will help you no matter what. Because my career field has changed plenty of times since I set that up. But regardless, I still have a retirement account that I can lean on for at least a little bit of money. I don't know how much with inflation. I don't know how much it's going to really be able to lean on by the time I'm retired. But outside of that, also, I think, and I didn't do this until last year or earlier this year, but getting life insurance.
You never had to get life insurance because I've always carried it on you.
Oh.
I've always had it. I got a little something on you.
So if I come up missing.
If I come up missing, you won't get a whole lot, but I'm going to get a whole lot, but I'll get a little something.
Okay, but a lot of people don't have life insurance on
Yeah.
themselves or their
Or their
loved
children.
ones or their children. So get life insurance too. That's something that you can do if you got a little extra money to put up in your 20s. Also, with the life insurance, you can use that to borrow against it.
If it has a cash value.
Yeah.
If it's considered a whole life. Life insurance policies have changed so much over the years. I remember at one time we had what's called a universal life. I know they've got whole life. That's one that you can typically borrow from. And they've got term life.
Any other tips you got for young people that want to be financially savvy and smart and investing?
Pay themselves first.
What you mean by that?
I mean that once you, and that may be considered part of your savings, but always pay yourself first. Pay yourself first before you pay anybody else.
Because you're going to find a way to get that money for them bills.
Pay yourself first.
Right. If you had to start now, in the year of our Lord, 2023, you're a fresh, you're a 21-year-old, living in today's age, and you wanted to start building your wealth or saving, like how do you think, what would be your first mindset? Like, what would you do?
I would look to see what my desires and passions are. If they are what they were, if they are today what they were back then when I started out, for me, it would always be real estate. I would find something, like I said, that I could afford, or I would pool my resources, meaning I would get my family, my friends, whoever had money that I could trust, that we could sit down and come up with an agreement to put our money together. Let's buy a piece of property. Let's get an understanding, and we get to put it in writing, what we were going to do, what we were going to take from it, how we were going to grow it. We would all get together, put our money together, and we would buy a piece of We would buy a piece of property, whether it be for rental or whether it be to flip. For me, because I've always loved rental property, we would all pool our resources together. We would all put our sweat equity into it. That means that if we had to get together and we put a new roof on it ourselves, or we painted the walls ourselves, anything that, could increase the value of it, whereas, keep us from having to pay somebody else for that labor. We pull our resources together and we buy it.
Yeah.
And then we would decide what we'd do with it, and we'd go from there. And we would do one. If we could all continue to live together and, and understand what our roles were together, and, we didn't kill each other in the process, then we would consider maybe doing another one. And we would keep going and keep going and keep going. So everybody that I know that we believed in, we would, try to trust them to putting in a little bit of their financial resources and a little bit of their muscles.
For me, my passions are different, even though I do include real estate in them. Starting out, I would have taken content creation way more serious and been consistent with doing it. And before I went and bought out all this major equipment and everything, I would use my iPhone. I would use everything I have, pull together people that are on my level that want to grow, or people that might know more than me, knowledgeable, that like, hey, I need a videographer, I need a lighter, and we work together and build up our portfolios together and continue to be consistent with creating that content and then using that money to flip it into, like she said, for me, real estate, into like we've done now with the content creation space. That's what I would do. Mm-hmm. This Aaliyah Ballware girl on Instagram, Aaliyah Ballware, one of our viewers, wanted to know, when it came to finance, what advice would you give someone wanting to transition from a 9-to-5 to entrepreneurship?
I would say follow your passion, follow your dream, never chase a dollar. But you got to be smart about it. You work that 9-to-5 until you put yourself in a position where you don't need that 9-to-5. Sometimes you hear people say, step out on faith. Yeah, you can step out on faith, and sometimes you land in a parachute, and sometimes you won't. But you know what it's going to take for you to survive. Sometimes you may have to take a step backwards. That means, you may have to, if you're going to quit that 9-to-5 and it's going to affect your ability to pay your bills, you may want to move back in with your mama, move back in with your relatives, whatever it takes to go out and pursue that dream.
For me, I would say, because I actually have transitioned from a 9 to 5 to like a job, and then 'cause my job at waitressing wasn't a 9 to 5, but that paid more than my 9 to 5, and then I transitioned from having that security to being complete entrepreneurship content creator in this day and age. I would say to one, do them at the same time. So while you're doing your 9 to 5, definitely start your entrepreneurship journeys, do the groundwork, filling out everything, doing it while you got some income coming
Absolutely.
in, paying your bills.
Absolutely.
Also building up your savings, build up that savings that we were talking about, that 6 months to a year worth of cushion, so that when you do finally see your entrepreneurship endeavors start to take off and you ready to quit, you got something to sustain you when the beginning stages of your entrepreneurship journey is up and down. So having that cushion will help keep you over. And then once you feel like you got enough cushion, you feel like your entrepreneurship endeavors are already taking off, then you can quit. But don't be such in a hurry to quit your job, because sometimes God got you in those jobs, in that position, so that you can learn skills for your entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Or learn systems for your entrepreneurship career. So don't be afraid to stay there and harper all those resources, those skills, and those lessons while you have access to them. And then you could take them to go do something else. Okay. Build all those relationships as well. Go out and network. These are things that you can do while you're still working your 9 to 5, where because it's scary to just jump and start something new from scratch, from the ground up, with nothing to hold, you know what I'm saying, to keep you afloat.
I agree.
So make sure that you got your raft right before you just go jumping out into the ocean.
But that holds true for any business venture, whether it's an entrepreneur or whether you're starting a new business from scratch. I mean, it holds true, you know?
That's an entrepreneur.
Well, no, I'm thinking of a traditional business. Yeah, they very well may be entrepreneur.
Yeah, anybody that starts a business is an entrepreneur.
You're right.
Yeah. But so Beezy taught him, Breezy taught him on Instagram, wants to know what are steps to take after being laid off and then pursuing entrepreneurship.
She's got to figure out what she wants to do. She's got to make sure that it's going to be something that can sustain her. And then she's got to go out there, and then she's got to surround herself with people like herself that's done it. You know, don't be afraid to go out and network, figure out, ask questions. You know, when I had a desire to become a millionaire, so what I had to do, I had to go sit and talk to people that were millionaires and figure out, well, what did you do? How did it work for you? Well, what is it that I can do? Is anything in what they tell you, you see that you can, you know, make it work for you. You know, but you got to surround yourself. So stay away from all the haters and the naysayers that tell you you can't, it won't work, you know, that's too hard, you know.
And for me, as in this day and age, you don't necessarily have to know all these millionaires.
Yeah.
You can go on YouTube and I listen to so many Steve Harvey and Oprah and Tyler Perry. I listen to all these people that do what I want to do and that are very successful in their business. I listen to them talk, their talks, their podcasts, and I'm picking up the nuggets that she's saying along the way. And there's so many self-help books about being a successful person or a successful leader or a millionaire or entrepreneur. And
she's got to read. She's got to.
So you don't have to know. Yeah, you don't have to know these people. You could be like, because some people be like, oh, I live in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I don't know a millionaire.
Right.
But you have access to, now that we have
the resources.
We have books, internet, YouTube. You can listen to these people all day long. Podcasts. So many of these people are going on podcasts, giving their game straight up. I also would say, if you have been laid off and you want to pursue entrepreneurship, also make sure you pick up a little trade or something that's going to bring in some money, whether you can cook and sell plates, you can Uber drive, you can Lyft. You need that income coming in, at least to pay your bills.
I agree.
Get some. If you don't have your savings already built up before you got laid off, pick up something that can at least pay the bills while you pursue entrepreneurship. Calm Cool Katisha said, advice on living the soft life when you don't make enough. Do you know what the soft life is?
No.
The soft life is now like this trend on social media, TikTok, Instagram, of women basically putting themselves first. loving themselves and pouring into themselves, whether it be physically, emotionally, luxury wise, and doing that before, or making that high up on their list of priorities. Because we know as women, oftentimes we work, but we don't have a skincare routine. We don't make sure that we get in facials or massages or making sure we keeping our looks and our appearance up. We sometimes neglect those things. And it's not even just about appearance. Soft life could be treating yourself, loving yourself. For you like cars, right? But a lot of women want to go to the spa, or they want to get massages, things like that. Like,
so the question is,
how do you live this soft life or put yourself in these things that you want to feel good about yourself?
That's easy. What can you afford?
When you can't afford it.
Well, you got
when
to
you don't
find,
make enough.
You got to find other means of living the soft life. Mm-hmm. You know, you might not be able to go to the spa, but guess what? Go sit at the park. You know, find alternatives.
Yeah, you might not be able to go.
You might not be able to
spend a facial, but you can give yourself one
a
at
facial,
home.
right?
Yeah.
Find alternative means.
Cheaper alternative means. There are cheaper ways. Go Groupon it. Look for coupons or deals at some of these places that you want to go and do these activities that you want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to make it work, girl. Find a way.
Absolutely.
Or create it. This is from J-Dub. How do you balance financial down seasons? I use my credit card. That is my crutch. That is my crutch.
How do you balance financial downtime? You downsize. Mm-hmm. You. That's why it's important that you don't live above your means, because when the hard times hit, you've got to be able to sustain. So if don't put yourself all the way out there. Don't run up those credit cards to the limit. Don't go out and extend yourself, credit wise to everybody and owe everybody. Keep it at a minimum. Only buy those things and do those things that you truly can afford. If you can't pay cash for them at that particular time, perhaps you don't need them. Perhaps you need to stay away from them.
Mm-hmm. And he also asks, what financial mistakes have I witnessed in the acting industry? So in entertainment industry, I see a lot of people pursue their dreams or quit their jobs to pursue their dreams without a savings. It's like, what do you think?
How would you gonna live?
How are you gonna live? And you hear this term like starving artists. That's because they sitting around waiting for somebody to give them a job, to hire them, to book them. And to be honest, I get booked for acting maybe 3-4 times a year. That's 3-4 checks that's gonna come in. Guaranteed. And then you don't even start to get the residuals until a whole nother year later, because it takes about a whole year before the project gonna come out. I filmed Swarm in 2022. It didn't drop till March of 2023. So I got paid for that once in April, May of last year, and didn't and haven't started to receive those checks again until the following year. So you have to have a savings. I think that a lot of people as creatives, they don't have the business side down pat because we use such that creative side of our brain that we forget that you have to be logical. Like, who gonna pay these bills? So as a creative, I would say making sure you got your savings just like anybody else, just pursuing entrepreneurship, but also keeping some type of steady income and being creative. Like, create the job for yourself. Like, create opportunities for yourself so you're not waiting for somebody to pay you a check. Like, why wait when we can create? Like Ernestine said, create, don't wait. So we went out, and this will be an added additional income. Once we really get to them subscribers, we need y'all to subscribe. And listeners every week, it'll continue to grow. And eventually, 6 months to a year from now, this will be an added stream of income that I created without waiting for somebody to come and give us the check to do it. So you got to go out there and create opportunities for you to make money. Put yourself in places where people are seeing you and want to book you. Because the more you out and they see how good everything you do in work, then they want to hire you. Then they like, oh, yeah, I want to put you in this project, or let me come work in this and come do this, because they see what you got going on working. So create those opportunities for yourself. Okay, so it's y'all favorite part of the episode, For the Record. Do you have any For the Records? Where we set things straight for the record?
No, nothing comes to mind today for the record.
I have a For the Record. For the record, in a previous episode, you spoke about how you didn't raise me to be just a wife. You wanted me to be a successful person and individual and learn how to have survival skills to provide for myself, whether I had a man or not. For the record, you guys, a lot of Black men took that as this is what's wrong with our community. Black women not raising their children to be wives. It's not that she, let me say, it's my for the record. It's not that she didn't raise me to be a positive mate to a man, but she raised me. And I think Black men, it was really baffling to me that y'all took offense to this, because she raised me not to just lay on my back and wait for a man to come save me and for me to drain his pockets. It's like on one end, y'all talk about y'all don't want gold diggers and y'all don't want women to just that need you and only your finances to survive. On one end, y'all complaining about the leeches or the gold diggers, but then on the other end, you saying that that's what's wrong. The fact that she taught me to be independent is a problem. So it's like, which one do you want? I felt like if I was a Black man, I would have honored or respected a Black woman teaching their daughter to be able to make a living for themselves, because one day as the Black man, anything can happen to you. You could fall and break your neck or break your back or break whatever, and you can't go to work for 3-6 months. If you got a woman who only can live off of what you provide, then what's going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And then too, they took it the wrong way, because I want you to be a hell of a wife, a good wife, and to somebody. You know, I didn't say I don't want you to be a wife. That was never the statement. I don't want you to grow up and become a wife. No, you took that the wrong way. What I said was, I don't want you to grow up to think that's all you're capable of being is a wife.
Right.
You know, there's more to life than just being a wife.
And that's why so many women who have thought that that's all that they were, wives and mothers, are sad and depressed and feel like they don't know who they are once their children grow up and leave the household, or they don't even walk around.
Or the husband leaves them.
Yeah, and they like, I don't know who I am, and I have to just figure out my entire life, because all my life I've just been his wife, or all my life I've just been their mom, and you have no identity outside of another human being. And I don't care what nobody say. So many people was throwing in the Bible or what our purpose
God
is.
says
God said our
woman's
only
supposed
purpose
to be a helpmate. You can be a helpmate in a lot of ways.
But my only purpose is not to be a wife and
or
a child
and a helpmate.
or a mother. Because if God had that, first of all, I don't believe God made every single woman purpose the same thing. That might be one of the purposes, but we all individually, as people, as human beings, women and men, have unique purposes that are specific to who you are and what God has for you to do as a part of his plan. So just being a husband, just being a wife ain't gonna cut it. And if you do the research, one income in America ain't really gonna cut it either to run a successful household.
Unless you considered above average wage
right?
earner.
But the average one income
takes 2 income.
It takes a 2-income household.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not, and a lot of these men don't even have them above average incomes that's complaining about having a woman that would work. So it just really baffled me, because here I just felt like, for the record, I feel like y'all don't know what y'all want. And when you figure it out, then stand on that. Because if you don't want a woman to work, then don't be asking, well, what do you bring to the table? Because you said you didn't want a woman to work. If you don't want a woman that has some sort of independence outside of you, then don't ask that woman. Now online, they be arguing about going 50-50 on dates and why a man got to pay for all this. If you don't want a woman to work, don't complain when she's draining your pockets.
Right. And I wish I would go on a date and somebody would ask me to pay 50. You lost your damn ever-loving mind. Okay. If any woman, let me for the record, if any lady, young girl, woman, or otherwise, go out on a date, ladies, with a man, and he expects you to pay 50-50, you leave his ass sitting right there, okay? Mm-hmm. And you leave. Now, I'm not saying not to offer. It's okay to reciprocate, but don't go out with anybody with an expectation, you paying 50, I'm paying 50, because that's Dutch. I don't need your ass. Deuces.
I'm a deuces instead of Dutch.
Deuces.
Okay, so this is the part of the episode where we do I want to know. I want to know is where I ask her a question or she asks me a question and we have to answer truthfully. And this one is coming from one of our viewers, from VJ Dub. Wants to know, what's something you wish you had have taught me sooner?
Not to be so trusting of people. Not to be so trusting, so giving of yourself right away. I mean, I tried to teach you that, but that didn't sink in too well. Not to be so trusting, so naive when it comes to people.
Yeah, being like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you could have taught me. I mean, I feel like you did try, but that's just like a personality trait. Like, I'm very kind. I'm very giving. I'm very overextending of myself.
Right.
And I don't think that that's something you can teach. I think that's just only life could teach me that. You get hurt so many times, you learn, okay, you know.
And I wish I could have
done
something more so that wouldn't happen. Because as a parent, it's just a natural action, a natural feeling of wanting to protect your child. You want to protect them from some of the unnecessary pains and woes and, you know, falls in life. And sometimes we just can't.
You can't protect
Sometimes
from
we
everything.
sometimes we just can't.
It's like saying that stove hot. You can tell me that stove hot, but until I burn my hand once,
yeah,
they ain't nothing gonna teach me better than experience. But I learned in church on Sunday, experience is the best teacher. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that's God's preferred teacher.
Correct.
So just like a parent, God is our father. You know, he wants to protect us. As a parent, you don't prefer experience to teach me, but sometimes experience is the best teacher.
Correct.
So, you know, you can't really blame yourself for that. But yeah, I feel like even if as I've gotten hurt, sometimes I still go. Even though I've reeled it in, I still catch myself overextending. Mm-hmm. It's just naturally
and you know what?
And
you know what? I say that I want to protect you from that, but I still have flaws in that. That's still one of my biggest flaws.
That's who we are as a people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we give, when we fuck with you all the way.
Yeah. And sometimes that's...
You get all of me, all 100% access.
And I'm personally dealing with that as in my life now because I've overextended myself and just trusted somebody and they taking advantage.
Yeah, people will. So we learning that together. Do you have any I want to know before we go for me?
What's your most prized possession?
Like thing?
Period. Whatever you consider your most prized possession.
I have a lot of prized possessions. I feel like my family, you're the most important person in my life. The head of my house. No, this one. Like,
now you go. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I would say my relationship with God, then you and my family, all of the women in my family, I feel like from my sister to my grandma to my nana to Jack, like all the women who have poured into me are very important to me. I think it took me losing Buzzo to realize like how important people are. Like you don't, I think Buzzo taught me like, Dan, you know somebody important to you, but you don't really know how important they are to you till they gone.
Yeah.
And you be like, damn, like you was all of these things to me. Now you don't even know that they not there no more, you know? So that maybe shifted, that major experience shifted what I considered to be more prized. It made family go higher up on the list. Then I would say my home.
Okay.
That's like, if we talking material, I would say my home and my car. Cause no matter what, I know I got a roof over my head and I got a means of transportation. I got a car, I can go out here and get some money. I got somewhere to stay and somewhere if like, and the pandemic taught me that too. Like when the world shut down, at least I'm good. I like it up in here. So, you know, that, and then my dog. I love Evie. I love her. I just love Evie so much. This unconditional, real, raw love. Oh, yeah. All right, y'all. That is the end of this episode. Hopefully we answered a lot of your financial questions, but if we didn't, then of course drop the questions below and we will try to circle back around and either for the record or I want to know. We'll get to those questions in future episodes. Thank y'all for tuning in and never missing a Mommy and Me Monday. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share these videos with everyone. We're trying to grow.
We're getting there. We'll get there.
All right. See y'all next Monday.
That's Brii Renee, and I'm Miss A.
No,
I'm Miss Renee from the A.
just cut. Okay.